continuing with the nervous system, the last part of the nervous system, that is the sensory organs. And the first sensory organ we are dealing with is the lateral line sensory system. Lateral line sensory system is a type of neuromast organ. The neuromast organs are ectodermal receptors concerned with orientation of the body in relation to waves and currents, that is water waves and water currents. So actually this particular receptors, it helps the organism to orient themselves in with respect to the wave and the current of water. Okay, and hence they are also known as current receptors or rheoreceptors, RHEO, rheoreceptors. Okay, and these receptors enable the fish to actually pick up the disturbances or perceive the disturbances or vibrations in the surrounding water, and also to detect any moving object in the way ahead or near around. Okay, so that when an object is there, the movement of object may create a vibration or disturbance in the surrounding water, and this can be picked up by the rheoreceptors or the neuromast receptors. Okay, so lateral line sense organs, it is a type of the neuromast receptors. Now we can see what are the unique features of neuromast receptors. Actually, this lateral line sense organs, it is arranged in groups in the walls of the lateral line canals. Okay, you can see in this figure, this is the lateral line canal. Okay, here it is marked red, isn't it? So in a typical fish, it is not in the case of mullet alone. So in a typical fish, you can see there is a canal system. Okay, this is known as lateral line canal system, and it is in this lateral line canal system these neuromast receptors or lateral line organs are actually placed or arranged, and that too in groups. Okay, now I hope it is the position is clear on both the sides, on the lateral sides. Okay, now we can see a few like terms associated with lateral line sense organs. As we have already seen, the neuromast receptors are epithelial receptors. Receptor organs, usually they are composed of hundreds and thousands of sensory hair cells. Okay, these epithelial receptors are so small that they may go about like 10 to 500 micrometer in length. Okay, so as said, the neuromast receptor in any bony fish, they are small epithelial receptor organs about 10 to 500 micrometer in length that are composed of hundreds or thousands of cells, which are referred as sensory hair cells. Okay, now each sensory hair cell has a ciliary bundle extending from the cell surface. So there is a cell which we have referred it as a hair cell, and from the hair cell surface arises a ciliary bundle. Okay, and these ciliary bundle, it is composed of two kinds of cilia. One is a single long kinocilium and shorter stereocilia. So there are only a single kinocilium on a hair cell plus shorter stereocilia found adjacent to the kinocilium. Okay, now uh, you can see this extends out from the cell surface of the sensory hair cell. Okay, now the ciliary bundle of all the hair cells in a neuromast, that is in a lateral line, they are covered by what you call as a gelatinous what you call cupula. Okay, so the a sensory hair cell do have a gelatinous cupula associated with them. This cupula, it serves as a biomechanical interface between hair cells and surrounding water. Biomechanical means it is biomechanical. It isn't biomechanical. So there is a correction. It is biomechanical. It is a part of the living cell. Then it is mechanical. That is, whenever there is a mechanical pressure exerted on cupula, there is a corresponding what you call stimulus created over there. So it is the cupula which receives the mechanical pressures exerted on the cell by the water in the surrounding environment, and it is the cupula which actually passes this information to the sensory hair cell and the nerve later. Okay, now when water flows past a neuromast, it bends the cupula, and inside the cupula you have the ciliary bundles, isn't it? So it bends the cupula and the ciliary bundles contained within it. Okay, this generates a stimulus that is transmitted to the brain. How come? Because every hair cell do have a lateral line nerve arising from that. Okay, and these nerves it is sensory in function. So it is when the water it exerts pressure or it moves over the neuromast, it bends the cupula and the ciliary bundles in it, and this creates a stimulus that is picked up by these sensory neurons, and it is passed to the lateral line nerve to the brain. Okay, so this is how the what you call the stimulus is transmitted to the brain, and the brain comes to know the position of the what you call analyzes the stimulus. Okay, so here you can see what happens. Okay, so this is enlarged over here. This particular region, it is enlarged over here. Okay, now this is the outer epidermis, right? That is the outer surface. Okay, now at frequent positions you can see a small opening, right? External opening, and this is what is referred as the lateral line. Okay, the lateral line canal. And this lateral line canal, it opens to outside by external opening, and you can see in these lateral line is present the sensory hair cell. These are the sensory hair cell. Okay, now the sensory hair cell, it is you can see the sensory hair cells enlarged on in figure C. Each of the sensory hair cell do have a nerve arising from that, that is a sensory nerve of the lateral line nerve system. And each of the sensory hair cell do have you can see the hairs, isn't it? If you enlarge that, each of these hair, it is composed of, you can see a hair cell. So few of the sensory hair cells are joined to form a group which is being covered by a cupular matrix. This is a cupula. This is the cupula. Okay, so here each of the sensory hair cell do have a single kinocilium on its surface, plus a few stereocilia adjacent to the kinocilium. Okay, and likewise each of the sensory hair cell do have these on the these kind of cilia on the cell surface, and all these are being covered by a gelatinous cupula. Okay, gel like, that is it, gelatinous cupula. And actually this in this figure you can see the blue portion actually represents the open space in the lateral line canal, and as we have already seen, through the external opening you can see water enters. The arrow mark indicates water entry. Okay, and when the water enters and it passes over the cupula, what happens is the cupula as well as the cilium, it bends. Okay, depending upon the pressure, the bending will be different. And what happens is when the it bends, the this particular message actually, oh sorry. Okay, this particular message is taken up by the sensory nerve. Okay, how far the bending is there. Okay, so that is actually perceived by the nerve and it is passed to the brain. Okay, so that is how the brain comes to know the position of the the fish with respect to the water, the surrounding medium.